Hi, Mark here. Welcome to the channel, Creative Journeys with Mark. And so today I wanted to do something for Valloween. So it's cheesecloth ghosts mixed with these felt heart garlands that they're holding. So you get a little bit of creepy, a little bit of romance. It's perfect. Here we go. Let's just dive into it. What you're gonna need first are a roll of tinfoil and some Scotch tape or masking tape, whatever you have on hand. And I found that it was really helpful to use a cardboard tube as well to start with your base. So if you have one from paper towels, or if you have a couple from toilet paper, you could tape those together. And then you're gonna do a little cap on the end of it to kind of start rounding out the shape for the head. And then you just sort of build up around that post, that pole that you have in the center there. That's going to give you some nice support. And what I did was I ripped sheets, I folded them in half and then wrapped them around. And I just sort of made, you want it to have almost like a little bit of a pyramid shape. You want it to be wider at the bottom because as you build out, you want it to be able to stand on its own. So you just build that up till you have it a little bit bulky. You don't need to completely squish the foil real tight around it. You don't want to do that. Otherwise you're going to use a ton of tin foil and you'll be there all day. So you just like loosely sort of squeeze it into shape. Then after you have that basic shape, I took another sheet of aluminum foil, rolled it, scrunched it, made it into sort of a long tube, rounded out the ends. That's going to be your arms. And then I taped that onto the back of my sort of core, my ghost core, if you want to call it that. And then that kind of gives you your framework for what you're going to build off of for the arms. And so after you get those taped on and they're pretty secure, sometimes also what I use the tape for is the aluminum foil doesn't really stick to itself. So as you add more and more layers, you're going to have these parts that want to flop off, and you want to tape those down. You're going to just continue to build the shape out. I took another large sheet and then draped that sort of over the head and then over the arm, and to kind of get that shape that I wanted. And you're just working it into whatever shape you want for your ghost. You're just going to continue to build that aluminum foil form until you're happy with the shape of it. So then you need cheesecloth. I just got this online. It's Dritz, 36 inches wide by 15 yards. I drape it front to back and side to side to see roughly the length I'll need for each piece. And then I cut that. And then I open those pieces up to their full width. It's just better. You might think, oh, if I leave it doubled, then it's gonna, I'll need less layers, but you want it to be really gauzy and drapey and drippy. So open it out. Now I used a pie plate from Costco, from one of their pumpkin pies. If you know, you know. And I set my ghost in the lid to contain the mess. And then in like the dish part is where I mixed my glue, my paste for the actual, it's basically paper mache with cheesecloth, right? White PVA glue. So if you make slime and that kind of stuff, you're familiar with PVA glue. Elmer's school glue, that's what it is. So 2 parts glue to 1 part water, and you mix it up. It's going to take a second because at first it seems like it's not going to mix, but you just keep at it. I just mixed it with a plastic knife that I could throw away, and it eventually will come to a nice, even consistency. Then you dip your cheesecloth into it, and it is messy. There's no qualms about it. This is a messy project. But you dip your cheesecloth into that, make sure it's completely saturated. And then when you pull that out, you want to wring it out, between your fingers. You kind of squeeze out the excess. So you wring out that excess, and then you open up the cheesecloth. This is pretty tricky, actually, because it's like hard to find the end of it. It's now stretched out of shape. And that's the part they never tell you in all these other tutorials about, like, oh, this actually, it takes a second, and it's, yeah. So take your time to open that piece of cheesecloth out again and drape it on your form. Try to find the center of it. The good thing is it stays wet for a really, really long time. So you have plenty of time to mess with it and drape it and find how you want it to to go over your piece. So there's no hurry. And then you're just working it over the form. I will say the first layer is the hardest because it doesn't really want to stick to the foil, so you just have to kind of work it into the shape of it. As you put the second layer on and the subsequent layers, it actually gets a lot easier. I think it was 2 full layers on each ghost. I let those dry and then came back and did a third layer on them. And as you're building it, you want to make sure that you're giving it a nice base. You know, you want the pieces to reach to the floor because that's what it's going to stand on once you take that foil form out of it. And like I said, I let it dry completely and then did a third layer. You want it to dry completely, and that's going to take... I did put the third layer on without the bottom being completely dry. There's just so much of the excess cheesecloth down there, and it's very thick around the bottom. So that took like a day and a half to dry. That took like a day and a half to dry. Then after it's dry, you want to remove the foil, obviously. There's a point when you're doing this that it feels like it's not going to come out, but it will. But you just kind of work the cheesecloth away from the foil, almost like how you would separate the edges of a cake from the pan, and you're just kind of putting your hand up there, you're pulling the cheesecloth away. You're not going to hurt it because you let it dry completely. I know you did. And eventually it works itself out. And it takes a second, not forever, but you will work it free and it'll be fine. And I did find too that the form, even if you would dent the cheesecloth, ghost or like crush its head, you can pop it right back out into shape and it's not a big deal. And so here's where we get into the Valloween portion of the video. And I just cut freeform hearts because I also didn't want them to be perfect little hearts because I thought ghosts would cut out hearts that weren't symmetrical. That's just how my head works. So come along for the journey. Yeah, and then I just started cutting out hearts in different sizes, in different colors, and kind of plotting what I wanted to do, color-wise. And then I used pinking shears for some of them. I went back and trimmed, after I used the template to cut out a heart, I maybe would go back and trim and make that one smaller. So, there's no hard and fast rules to it. It's just fun. Just cut out hearts out of different colors of felt. And you want to kind of see and measure as you go along to see how many hearts you'll need to span the hands of your ghost. I laid them out on the table until I got an arrangement that I liked. I layered some smaller hearts onto the larger ones in different colors and until I was happy with it. So once you figure out your arrangements, then what I did was I took 1/8 inch wide polyester ribbon in black. And you can get that at Michael's or Walmart. It's very easy to find. And then a needle with a large eye. Those come in most... I had one in just like a whole like needle pack that you could get of all different sizes. You could also get doll making needles. That would work. Those are huge though, so it's a little bit overkill. Thread your ribbon through your needle. So yeah, and then I just used that threaded ribbon through the needle to make little X's out of the ribbon and little just stitches. I wanted it to look like Frankenstein stitches. So if you think that in your head, they don't have to be perfect X's. They could be sort of off kilter and off center and Frankenstein stitches. You know what I mean. So yeah, I just liked the look of that. And I thought it was appropriate and kind of helped to push the theme a little bit more. Yeah, I did find that using a pair of pliers to pull the needle through the felt, it's not the needle that has the problem. It's when you get to the end where it's the two, because you have the ribbon through the needle and then you have 2 layers of that ribbon that are trying to pull through. And then you're trying to pull that through 2 layers of felt. It can be a little difficult. So a pair of pliers was really helpful to use. I didn't need it. I could do it without that, but the pliers really made it super simple. And I used those same stitches to then secure the smaller hearts to the larger ones and just had fun with it. I wanted it to look a little Frankenstein-y. And then you get out the good old hot glue gun and I glued the garlands into the ghost's hands. And I really thought they were cute like this. And then I because I originally was not going to give them faces. And then I kind of cut eyes out of the black felt and I really liked them. And then I was like, well, they need mouths now too. And yeah, so I did end up giving them faces. If you want a more detailed description of how I did the eyes and the mouth and stuff, that's in my ghost garland video, which I'll link in the description. So I hope you have fun making these. I hope you'll try them. I had so much fun making them. And then my mom actually pulled out a bunch of battery operated candles, and I came in and there was this gorgeous display, and they had the fairy lights underneath the ghosts and all of the battery operated candles and the lanterns around them, and I loved it. So you can thank my mom for this beautiful display at the end. Thanks, Mom. I think it came out great. So happy Valloween, and we'll see you in the next one. All right, take care. Be creative. Go make something fun. Go make something pretty. I don't know, just go have fun. Bye.